All right, good morning. This is going to be the redevelopment meeting for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025.
Good morning, Commissioners. The first item is the first section set aside for public comment.
This first period for public comment. Anyone wishes to speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the public period of comment and turn over to the director. Well,
good morning, Commissioners. Your next item is approval of the minutes for the Clark County Redevelopment Agency meeting on May 21st, 2025.
Move approval.
There's a motion. There's a motion. Cast your vote. That motion passes.
Your next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda with the inclusion of any emergency items and deletion of any items.
I move approval of our agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. That motion passes.
All right, for your business items today, agenda item number 4 is to review the current Clark County Redevelopment Agency fund balance and expected fiscal year 26 revenues per district. Commissioners, when the Redevelopment Agency budget was initially approved back in May, the tentative budget, we did not have the expected revenue for the new redevelopment areas that were approved in February. And so what we'll do today is go through what our current fund balance is, and then we will go through each of the redevelopment areas, highlighting what the expected revenue is for fiscal year 26, and this will provide you with a new dollar figure for the fiscal 26 budget. So currently right now we have roughly $26.4 million. If you recall back in May when we did our last meeting, there was about $33 million in there. We've recently closed on a property off of Maryland Parkway 2625, which brought the fund balance down. So for fiscal year 26, the estimated revenue for this is an original redevelopment area. The Winchester area, which is our largest area, which is the Maryland Parkway Sahara, is roughly $20 million, $20.3 million. This is in District E. Another original area is the Sahara Boulder Highway corridor. It will bring in roughly $77,000. And the third original area is in Paradise, also District E, will bring in roughly $27,000. This is a new area, the Maryland Parkway Flamingo Corridor. We pulled in this area to try to address the issues with the closing of Desert Springs Hospital. For the first year, this is going to bring in roughly $10,000. And I remind all of you that the numbers are really low this year because this is the base year. There isn't an increase, and obviously we haven't done any work, so this first year you're not going to see significant dollar amounts. Another new area is Chinatown. This is actually the largest of the new areas, and so it will bring in roughly $353,000. Our next new area is Koreatown. This is roughly Rainbow Spring Mountain. This is one of the smaller areas. It's only bringing in about $7,000 for this fiscal year. And then finally, we have the new area, Boulder Highway in Stephanie, which we anticipate to bring in about $40,000. So all in all, with the new areas, so the budget that the board approved in May was $20.2 million. With the addition of the new areas, we will see an increase in revenue of about $579,000. And so that will be your total budget for fiscal year 26. I'm happy to take any questions.
And just to clarify, that's the money that will come in through the taxes during the fiscal year.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
All right, the next item on your agenda is to approve and authorize the rehabilitation of 900 Liberace Avenue located at APN 16210510029, which consists of 4 two-story retail office buildings containing a gross building square footage of 72,500 square feet, and authorize the Director of Operations to sign work orders, contracts, agreements, or take other actions as necessary to facilitate the rehabilitation of the property. Today, we are going to receive a very short presentation from our real property management team to talk through the anticipated rehab for New Orleans Square.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
For the record, John Advent, Deputy Director with Real Property Management. I'm going to run you through a very quick presentation for the contemplated preliminary scope for the 900, thank you, Liberace facility. As a brief overview, the intent of this scope is to address the facility from a code compliance, fire life safety, and general long-term maintenance of the building, right? So we're looking at it from kind of that perspective. Bring the building up to code, address fire life safety issues, and long-term maintenance, things that we'll need to maintain the building for the long term of the county ownership. So I'll quickly run you through these bullet points. We have one is the renovation of all the tenant suites. It's just the general cleanup, demoing, suspended ceiling, patching and painting. If there are any walls that maybe aren't code compliant or weren't permitted, we'll clean those things up. But the general intent is to keep the suites that we have as close to they are today. This work does not include tenant space improvements or tenant allowance for individual leases of the building. So this would just be a kind of a vanilla shell to each suite in the facility. We're going to address all the single-use restrooms in those various suites to update them, bring them up to ADA compliance, public use compliance. The big one is bringing a fire sprinkler system and the associated riser rooms to the entire building so that it's fire sprinkled, along with a fire alarm system for all 4 buildings. And then in general, code upgrades at all areas as we kind of go through our design process and inspect and vet the scope of the building. You know, we'll address all code deficiencies or code upgrades that we need to do at that time. For the exterior of the building, we will be modernizing and bringing the elevators up to par, patching and painting the exterior of building finishes for, you know, waterproofing and envelope. This work does not include any facade modifications or beautification improvements. It's simply from a maintenance standpoint. The code upgrades to the public use restrooms, the bank of restrooms on the first floor from ADA and accessibility, and then the replacement of the roof. And last, we anticipate needing to bring at least 1 fire hydrant to the site to meet current fire code. So overall, from a sorry, thank you. Project budget approximately $15 million all in. Our timeline right now is looking for 36 to 48 months, start to finish. And then our next steps obviously being project approval, funding being established, and then setting up internal stakeholder meetings both within our organization to kind of vet through this scope, establish a kind of a strategy and a timeline in more detail, and then executing. And then, kickoff being once we've identified our design professional, our formal kickoff, like our normal project processes. That is the quick overview.
Go ahead. Is this a public hearing? I know there's a couple of people wanting to speak. I don't know.
Could I just ask you a couple
Sure.
questions first, Chairman? Thank you. I just want to make sure I heard that right. The $15 million does not include any beautification or facade improvements?
We did not contemplate any, beautification type scope. This is purely code upgrade, renovation, maintenance style scope.
And then I assume during the course of the work, everybody's displaced, right? For that period of time?
Yes, this is correct. We are anticipating that
Is displaced?
we would fully take the building to complete the work.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, may I ask a couple of questions? So what is the intent? So where do these people go in the meantime? Because you got to shut down the whole building, especially when it comes to fire sprinklers and fire stuff, right? So what is the plan? Are we expected to buy them out of their leases? Or I just don't understand why we couldn't look at just tearing them down and building the same thing back with the architecture that's there. I mean, flat roof is almost popular again, right? There's a reason that we stopped building with flat roofs is because when it rained, became a problem, and if you don't know what that looks like, the health district's a great example, but what's the plan? Mr. Chair, I'm asking.
You're asking me? Well, first off, we hired Gensler, they did that report and determined that this was a historic structure that was part of commercial center, which is what we're trying to revitalize. And secondly, you couldn't replace this building for this kind of money. I mean, the truth is, and some of the tenants are here, but there's lots of people that want to come use it, that are already using it. We're hoping we're working with UNLV to partner with them to find places there, but it's going to be like a little incubator, little art places, nonprofit places, and just businesses that we need in that area. And that was the conclusion of Gensler. But it's really, we can duplicate this historic structure for this kind of money. And so at this point, it's cost effective to revitalize it as opposed to tearing it down and building a new building.
I know, so then let me ask it a different way. So then today, there's all these people in here. We allowed where people can come in, we're landlords, right? Which is not a typical thing that we do, but we're also doing it for the micro business center. And I don't disagree that commercial center could be a lot of amazing things. But one, what happens to the people that are there today while we do the work? And two, are we going to ensure that within the leases that we don't have to pay for any of those tenant improvements? I just, here's what I would say. It's great that we have $26 million. You spend $15 million. We agreed that it was going to be everybody's money. And I don't have a redevelopment agency, but I'm still a good fiscal agent of our dollars. And it's going to take 4 years. We don't even know what the cost looks like. But what happens to those businesses that are there today? Is it an expectation that we're going to pay to relocate them? Is it,
So,
I mean, I'm just
Commissioner,
asking.
a number of the tenants in this space are on a month-to-month lease, so we don't have to address leases. There are only 2 leases right now that are due to expire in 2028 that we would have to deal with. So that's one thing. And what we have talked about is potentially for those tenants that are interested in staying in the space, that we help them relocate temporarily, and that if they're interested, they could come back and lease space after it was done.
And so what's the issue with the leases of the tenants when they move back in?
They would just be new leases, just like any other tenant.
I
We
know,
would do
but so will it say in the contract that they're responsible to come into code compliance?
Well, the rehabilitation would be bringing the building into code compliance. We would be doing all that work. That is what this agenda item is to address, is to bring the building completely into code compliance. So if they were to lease space, the space would already be code compliant. What we are not contemplating is if they have any special tenant improvements that they need to operate their business, that cost is not included in that $15 million number.
But is it intended to be
It is
part of
not.
it? Or are we gonna do it like we do everything else, where if you're doing, you pay for your own tentative improvements?
That is correct.
And this is only one building?
There are 4 buildings total. The total square footage of the 4 buildings is 72,500. So there are 4 2-story buildings on site.
The other thing is, it's not, hopefully it'll just be 3 years or less, but it won't be, nothing's going to happen for at least 18 months. So there's only going to be a period of about a year when they would actually be removed, the ones that wanted to leave and then come back.
Mr. Chair, so we're a landlord for all these folks. has there been any thought about how we might get out of the landlord business? It does feel to me like that's something that we've never shown ourselves to be experts at. And I recognize that when we make a decision here to renovate and to bring up to code, then we're essentially saying we're going to keep ownership of the building, which puts us in a position where we are a landlord, we have tenants. And I've wondered to myself, since I was briefed on this item, if that's where we want to be. I mean, it feels to me like whatever we do ought to take into account the potential for an opportunity to divest ourselves of ownership of the building so that we don't have to be the landlord. And if we made the right deal with someone, feels to me like there would probably be plenty of folks who'd be willing to come in and partner with us and become the landlord, take on the responsibilities of ownership over there, or at least management of the building. How are we currently handling the tenants? Who does that, and in what department?
We currently have a property management company that manages that facility for us.
And what's the name of that company?
It's Gatsky Commercial. They were previously the property manager under the owner, and so when we purchased the property, we retained them.
What's the occupancy right now of the space?
The occupancy is, I'd have to come back to you. That I don't want to give you the wrong information, but it is not as high as it used to be.
It's probably only about 10%.
10%?
Yeah.
And so what did we estimate when Gensler looked at it? What would the cost of replacing the building? Forget the architecture, it needs to be preserved, I get that. But what was the cost, did they estimate, of replacement?
We did not look at replacing the building. We only looked at either demolition or rehabilitation of the building. Those were the requested information requests that we received when we did the project.
Okay.
Can I ask another question? What?
Ask all the questions you want.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm struggling with this, and I know that it's no secret how I feel about redevelopment agencies. But so let me ask this question: does it not make sense to go and do one building first to see what we're likely going to have in there? Because I gotta believe that this was built a long time ago, that we're going to run into problems that we don't anticipate, as opposed to trying to do all four at once. And so I just worry that $15 million won't be enough, and then we'll be stuck, right? And then what will happen is what we should do to finish our project, we'll come back and we'll clean out all the redevelopment money, and then now no one gets anything, right? So, but we get new buildings. So I don't, I agree to disagree with being a landlord, because at the end of the day, I know how hard it is for all the buildings that we already have, and I just don't, but I didn't stay at that meeting on purpose, because I'm not trying to railroad anybody's other stuff, but it just seems that at some point, why don't we want people to come in and to develop it for us, for one, but two, I'm asking you, John, I mean, there's no easy project when you do retrofits, right? I'm the queen of taking old buildings and turning them into something, and we always come up with all these unintended consequences, right? You could say that about me, right? And he loves to tell me yes, and then it cost, and I got to find, and so not to put you in the hot seat, but I mean, it is not uncommon to come up against things that we did not anticipate, whether it be mold, whether it be, asbestos, whether it be all of these, the roof, you can't find those proper shingles. I mean, there's always something, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, with any scope like this, there's always a chance for unforeseen conditions. But we don't know what we don't know until we get in there and study it a little more, but yes, there's always that risk.
But it seems when the commercial center was built out that all of the buildings were somewhat built the same, right? So you could do one to see, and you would have a pretty good idea of what you might run into. Because I would tell you, I'm no expert, but I am married to a plumber, and anytime you try, and I think of the Fountain Blue, when you try to put fire sprinklers into an old building, there's issues because you don't know where everything is. And I would bet you the people on Fountain Blue would tell you how awful that it has been trying to go backwards. So I just, does it make sense to do all four at once? Does it not make sense to, one, go in and see what we got? Take the least or the smallest building to see what that looks like, because retrofitting fire sprinklers is not an easy task, because what you'll run into pipes that don't exist that probably should. You have to rip out the roof to see where those pipes might have gone. So fire sprinklers is not the easiest thing to retrofit. I know from experience. It's no easy task. So I'm trying to save you from having to come back and ask me to give you another $50 million, because the answer would probably be nope. But I'm just asking if we want to dip our toe as opposed to going all in.
I know it's not a public hearing, but Monica Resser, who's an architect and a tenant there, appears to want to say something. I don't know if that would be appropriate.
I guess you have
Mr.
the pleasure to call anybody up.
Mr. Jones.
I just had sort of a follow-up question. I know I threw this out there at the last meeting or the one before that, of the idea of approaching this more with a master developer concept. And I don't know if that's something that we've looked at a bit here, because there's a difference in my mind, sort of to Commissioner Patrick's point of the project that we're doing in Commissioner McCurdy's district, where the county has taken on the role of doing something that forwards what we think are our county priorities, as opposed to being the landlord for a tattoo parlor or something along those lines. Being the landlord for a tattoo parlor or whatever it is doesn't forward any particular county priority in the same way that running a small business incubator might do. So I think those are two different concepts there. So I guess I struggle with the idea of the county taking on this project. We all know that it's a lot more expensive for a government agency to do these kind of retrofits than it would be for a private developer. And so maybe we should have conversations with the private developer about being the one to master develop commercial center, and therefore make a decision as to whether this kind of a retrofit for Norling Square and other buildings is the most logical thing to do for future leasing or not. So that's kind of where I'm not saying no to this. I just would love to hear a little bit more from somebody who's actually in the development and leasing space of 4 years out from now, because it's going to take that long according to your own projections. What is the real projection for a Gatsky or somebody else of who's going to be the tenants in this kind of a building, and what does the whole concept look like? So.
Well, it sounds like we need to pull it back, but let me say this. The reason we're in this situation is we own the parking lot. And, we have Insomniac who wants to take over the event center right next to this and use this as part of their whole sales pitch and development. And
I think that was kind of where I was going with the last time around, is if we do have a partner, a premier partner like that, then why are we not talking to them and others about co-developing it and being more partners in it, as opposed to taking this offline for 4 years? So it doesn't really benefit them for 4 years. So I guess that's the discussion that I'm not sure that I understand where we are at.
Well, I'm not sure we went, I'm sorry, Kevin.
I just wanted to add one thing to Commissioner Kirkpatrick's question on I'm going to call it the phased approach or trying to building. John, could you address that related to feasibility related to that?
Sure. I mean, I think we would have to discuss that with the building official to see how a C of O or a TCO could work tied to phasing and having certain buildings that are under one code and others that are not. But as them being freestanding buildings, I think we could address them in a phased approach.
All right, well, it's clear we don't have 4 votes, so we're going to pull this item off the agenda. I'll go back and do more research. I'll get Insomniac to come and make a presentation, because we've been working with them about, they wanted us to do this. But again, once we're done with the building, we could turn it over to a master, developer or whatever to manage the building. This just is, the question was whether to retain the building or not. I thought the Gensler's report kind of said that we should do that. So that's why we went forward with trying to develop it and tie it into the parking lot, working with the attorney to make sure we can actually use the parking lot for these bigger events that Insomniac wants to do. But obviously I need to do more background work and then come back to you guys so that it meets with your approval. So with that.
And Mr. Chairman, I just think that people are wondering what our long-term plan is. And to be honest, I sent Insomniac in the beginning to you all because they wanted to do a museum and do different things. And EDC is a well-oiled machine in this town when they come to town now. So I think the concept meets what you were trying to do, something kind of a little different, kind of crazy, fun, and to get a bunch of people. But I also know that there's an expectation from them that they want to have the event center next year done, right? That's at least what they've told me. And so my point is, we're now going to be under construction. We're going to have people displaced. I mean, that is not beneficial to them having a big event pre-EDC. So maybe we go back instead of putting everything under and ask Insomniac, but, listen, we have this, we can maybe lease it to you, we can tear it down for you, we can do all these things for you, so that we're not disturbing the parking lot today while they're trying to open their event center. Their event center is supposed to be pretty cool because it has a lot of EDC museum stuff, but I don't think that the rest of the board knows. I happen to know because I work very closely with EDC, but I gotta tell you, they're not bringing you 100,000 people when there's construction going. I promise you they're not. That is not how they roll. When EDC comes in 6 weeks ahead of time, you could never tell that there was any construction done. That is not their premier style. So I'm just saying, we probably need a bigger conversation and EDC to be at the table to say, what does this work for you to be under construction with all these things? But also, can we move the tenant somewhere else so that we're not displacing them? I don't want to have to pay people to move. That's not a good practice. Everybody always thinks we have an open checkbook. I'm happy to help you. I don't want to.
Well, honestly, I thought
I don't
EDC
want to ruin your dreams, but I'm happy to help you. But at the same time, we got to long term. What does this look like?
All right, well, you are my nightmare, but that's a different issue. That was a joke. Anyway, the reality is, let me talk to EDC. I thought I brought them, this is what they wanted, but we'll go back and have a conversation with them and make sure that everybody's on board.
So restating the direction, what I'm hearing, here are a couple things. I'll just quantify EDC as a stakeholder, but I think what I'm also hearing is potential options related to kind of that vision master plan and some detail around that related to those options. And I did want to put on record, I think the demo of the building, I think the cost estimate was like $3 million. We don't have the total cost if we demoed and built, but I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. But does that sound correct in the direction?
Yeah, let me meet with EDC and then come back with something. So,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. So I recognize that what you're trying to do is get something going.
in my lifetime.
In your lifetime. But, I don't think we would have, it's unfortunate, at least I'm guilty, of not engaging fully until this is in front of me. You have this project that is a primary project in your district. bringing everybody to the same spot, the way they think about it, the decisions they'd be willing to make is not an easy thing, partly because of the way that we have so many things that we're all focusing on. So I don't mean to say I'm against this or I don't want to do this. Would like to help make Commercial Center really productive. I mean, I've been here long enough, I remember when it worked. And so I think that it may be that if we gave ourselves just a short period of time and we looked real seriously at what role EDC would like to play, because I'm not real sure that I understand fully. You may, but there may be some things they'd be willing to take on that we don't know about right now. And it may be that if there were some other kinds of approaches, and including maybe even a demolition, and we get a master developer and we impose some serious time constraints while we're planning the whole thing, that we might get it all back about the same time, and we avoid some of that expense, and we get a really good result in the moment, right? The moment we build back and we're ready to go, we've got a beautiful facility there that'll accommodate everything we need. I feel like I want to support everything that we do over there so that it really works, and I don't want any of us looking at each other saying, why in the world did we do that? And I think it may be that it was important for you to bring this forward so that we could engage and get going. And I think that's what we got right now, right? That's what there is. So we got to make a decision about how we go forward with it. And we shut her down for 4 years. That's an estimate. And now we're getting out to the end of our useful lives, right? So maybe what we need to do is just take a brief time and talk with EDC, talk with Gensler, talk with internally among ourselves, and see if there isn't something where we could provide you the kind of support you need in order to really get this going quicker.
All right, well, again, let's pull it off. Let me work with Kevin and Shawnee and come back with or not come back. So.
I think coming back.
Okay. All right, and honestly, we have been meeting with, Gensler made their report, we've been meeting with EDC. We thought that's what I thought we were doing, but obviously I need to have EDC involved with Commissioner Kirkpatrick and those of us and come forward. So, but at least we started the discussion. So, end of the day, you guys are still our tenants, so don't leave.
So I would probably make staff crazy by saying this, but could you look at some opportunities where we could do a dollar lease if they came in and did different stuff for us? So kind of opposite of what we do in my district where we leased it to, but so maybe the county retains the property in the parking lot, but then we can lease it to $1 and they can come in and do what they need to do. Can you put some of those options together for us?
We absolutely can bring you some options regarding lease, regarding master plan, all of those things. We'll bring it back.
I just think Commissioner Sagerbloom, that will help you help EDC kind of dial in what they're trying to do. And it'll help this board kind of know what the long-term plan is.
And just for everybody's application, hopefully this fall we're going to knock the other building down, and that'll be a blank space over there on State Street.
All the more reason to not have 15 buildings doing something at the same time.
And I would quantify, Commissioner Kirkpatrick, what you're really speaking to is incentivizing the development, the tenants, and creating kind
That's
of
what redevelopment
to create
is.
the
You
vision.
incentivize them.
All right. Do we need a motion or just?
No.
No.
No, just move on to the next item.
All right.
All right, next item on the agenda is to receive a presentation from UNLV College of Fine Arts on the fiscal year 25 sponsorship of arts and culture activities to assist in the revitalization and current redevelopment areas. I believe we have Mr. Warren Cobb with us, who will be going through the presentation.
And myself, Tom Michelle.
And Tom Michelle.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tom Michelle. Good to see you again. For the record, 360 East Desert Inn Road, Las Vegas, 89109. For the past several years, and since this program's inception, I have been the liaison between Clark County Commercial Center and the UNLV College of Fine Arts for Arts in the Center. Thank God for the arts. I'm here today with Warren Cobb. Warren's the Associate Dean of the College of Fine Arts. We're going to give you just a quick brief update on the status of the program and on the even more successful second season that just ended. So just to remind you very quickly of the purpose and goals of this initiative, it was to bring more quality arts programming to Clark County, to foster a better sense of community within the community itself, to promote cultural exchange, to remind us of the collective power of the arts on our lives, and also, obviously very importantly, to expand the reach of the UNLV College of Fine Arts and its students. So at the end of the second season, hats off, we had an even better and bigger second season. More programming, more student participation, more audiences, more press and PR, and even a really wonderful surprise at the end of the season. So just to recap the first two seasons in a nutshell, there have been 16 highly successful collaborative events. There were 10 of them in the past season rather than 6 in the year before. Focusing on music, visual arts, theater, dance, architecture, live performance, film, and ethnic heritage celebration. Here are just a few of the highlights. First, a grand night for singing, which was all theatrically based. Many of these at the Composer's Room. A dazzling display of drumming, fantastic event. A thought-provoking array of visual arts. A tuneful way to celebrate the holidays. An engaging look into the life of a major lyricist, the birth of a new, exciting theatrical creation, another sold-out season of parking lot plays, which are mini plays that take place in the parking lot at Commercial Center, about 6 different locations all at the same time, a vibrant celebration of Hispanic culture around Cinco de Mayo, and packed and appreciative houses. And one of our goals this year was to have a lot more press. I'm happy to report that we had, unlike the first season, 26 feature stories and articles, TV, radio, online, print, podcasts, featured on most of the major news outlets throughout the valley. Estimated media value this time for this program over $1 million. And the surprising icing on the season's cake, we presented, and there was a documentary that was created for this program in the first season, and it actually won an Emmy Award. Pacific Southwest Regional Student Emmy Awards for student programming long form. So this program has now generated an Emmy Award winning piece of its programming. For next season, what we're anticipating is even more compelling programs, but with 10 or 12 new ones, expanding the audience even more, building up the marketing and PR even more, and then also looking to establish select program tentpole initiatives that are broad-based and attention-grabbing enough to draw even larger audiences. That is the update on what we have done over the last year. We would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I will ask the question, do you hope to do it in the future?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had fantastic experience the last 2 years. We're looking very forward to doing, again, the same kind of events next year. It's wonderful to have that opportunity for our students to get out into the community. What's very different that they're experiencing is they have always put on plays and sang and all of these different kind of arts, but there's always, so they do the play and then they go backstage and they congratulate each other, right? There's never an audience intermingling that happens. And what's really neat about doing it at the Commercial Center is they walk off the stage and they're kind of right there. And so they get into these conversations as they walk by an audience member. The audience member reaches out and says, hey, I really enjoyed that. You know, how long have you been doing that? And it really gives the community a more in-depth experience with what's going on with arts and culture in our city. And it also gives our students an opportunity to see how they're touching lives. It's not just on the stage where I'm the center of attention and then it completely goes away, right? There's a carryover into the community, and that's really important.
All right. So I anticipate coming forward to this body the next couple of months with a proposal, and hopefully we can get that done. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Commissioners, we do not have any items for closed session, so now is the time set aside for the second public comment.
All right, the second period for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, come forward now. So I think we have one guinea pig.
Hello again, Monica Gresser, Brazen Architecture, 900 Liberace Avenue, Suite C111. As a tenant of the New Orleans Square building, I'm a little disappointed. On the other hand, I could see the opportunities for public.
Hold it a little closer.
I could see the opportunities for public-private partnership happening here. It does leave us a little bit in a state of limbo as tenants in terms of what we do and when we do anything. So we would like, I think we all, or most of us, would like to have the opportunity to collaborate in terms of what happens with that building. And if it is going to be redeveloped in some way, renovated in some way, we like to participate in that. I mean, specifically as an architect, I mean, how do you say no that you don't want to participate in that? So if that's available to us, we would like to do that. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tracy Simon. I own Get a Haircut at 900 Liberace B101 in New Orleans Square. Neighbor of Monica's who just spoke. We are very excited about the changes that are hoping are going to come in the future. We want to be a part of them. As it was mentioned, there aren't a lot of us left now. I don't know the logistics of it all. But I think there are less than 10 of us there. So if it was an option to relocate us to another part of Commercial Center while the changes were being made, and for those of us who would like to come back, have the option to come back, we at Get a Haircut would absolutely love that opportunity. I could understand if we were at 100% occupancy, that might be a little challenging and costly, but there are so few of us left that we are really hoping that that is an option. We know that tenant improvements wouldn't be supported by the county. We would do our own tenant improvements for a barber shop, our sinks, our chairs, exactly how we would like them, so we understand that. But we really love what was started at New Orleans Square, and that was why we moved there. And we're hoping in the future we will be able to stay, or at least come back and have the same type of family that was once there, of like fun, eclectic, unique businesses. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close the hearing.